The greatest menace in Dragon Ball, pure evil, or Patrick Star on steroids. Majin Buu has been called a lot of things, and taken a lot of forms, but one thing fans are split on is which version was the strongest. Today I'm going to be covering the topic of who is stronger, Kid Buu or Buuhan. In order to do this, we'll need to discuss both the original manga's telling of events, as well as the anime's, because there are differences. We will also briefly touch on secondary sources like guides, interviews, etc. Although given the primary sources being the anime and manga hold more weight, they'll be the main focus. First off, let's touch on the manga, since it's pretty straightforward. It's blatant that Buuhan is the strongest in the manga. We have statements from Buu Tanks that he's the strongest version of Buu to ever exist, clearly in reference to his past variations, which he does remember. This is made clear by him remembering his fat version and fight with Vegeta and Gohan, as well as remembering Bibidi sealing him long ago in his old rampage as Kid Buu. This is why he allows Bibidi to order him around in the first place, for fear of being sealed again. So Buu Tanks clearly tells us that he's stronger than Kid Buu ever was. Worth noting is Buu Tanks does claim to be the strongest Buu that will ever exist too, but he doesn't have Buuhan as a reference, so to his knowledge at the time that would have been true. Furthermore, we have Goku and Vegeta while inside of Buuhan state that even without his absorptions, Super Buu would flatten them if they escaped and battled him. This is important because Goku as a Super Saiyan 3 seemed to have a similar level of power to Kid Buu shortly after the statement was made, which would at least imply that Super Buu is likely stronger than Kid Buu. The final piece of scaling that we get as a direct comparison is Good Buu being able to hold off Kid Buu for some time in their fight, and even somewhat keep up with them. Although of course Kid Buu was still the stronger of the two at the end of the day. Given all of this, it's pretty clear that Buu Tanks has blatantly surpassed Kid Buu or any version of Buu up to that point, as said by the character himself, and even standard Super Buu is implied to be stronger than Kid Buu. One argument I do see sometimes is that Gohan's power was part of the Spirit Bomb that Buu held back, therefore Kid Buu is stronger than Gohan and therefore Super Buu. The problem with this is that Kid Buu was ultimately defeated by the Spirit Bomb. The only reason he held it back for a brief while was because Goku had run out of energy to push the attack forward onto Buu, so scaling Kid Buu to the Spirit Bomb would be a disingenuous argument since he actually was defeated by it. I've also seen people try to claim that the recap in Dragon Ball Super manga, which says the most powerful enemy of all time, Majin Buu, suddenly appeared, is proof that Kid Buu was the strongest in the manga. However, they never specify which variation of Buu they are referring to, and it's just as likely to be referring to Majin Buu as a general whole being the strongest, so it doesn't really prove anything either way. Beyond the above arguments, there are no real implications, feats, or statements that would place Kid Buu above Buuhan in the manga, so Buuhan is the stronger of the two according to the original manga. As for the anime, we do get statements of Kid Buu being the strongest Buu, etc. It's said that Majin Buu is the most powerful enemy in history, that Kid Buu is purely evil, absolutely most powerful ultimate Majin Buu, and that Kid Buu is on a whole different level than the other Buus. These statements in a vacuum do definitely paint a picture of Kid Buu being the flat-out strongest variation of Buu, however there's more context to be had. We also have a scene where Goku and Vegeta battle Gotenks and Gohan while inside Buu. This has implications for scaling, especially since secondary guides state that Gohan and Gotenks were equal in power to their original counterparts. The fact that Goku was able to fight Gohan in his base form and Super Saiyan forms, and Vegeta was able to fight Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks and Piccolo in his base and Super Saiyan form, would seem to imply that they have surpassed Ultimate Gohan and Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks respectively. However, there is again more context that needs to be addressed. First off, we also get statements from Buu Tanks, just like in the manga, that he's the strongest Buu ever, clearly referring to his past forms, which he has as his only reference, which would include Kid Buu, which directly contradicts the filler statements that Kid Buu is the strongest Buu. The problem can't be solved by just ignoring either statement, and the only real solution I've seen to make both statements fit is to say the filler statements are only referring to the pure versions of Majin Buu, or Buu in general as a whole, to eliminate the inconsistency, making Buu Tanks stronger than Kid Buu like he claims, but still having Kid Buu be the strongest pure Buu form, since the absorptions can be considered external power-ups. That way, it satisfies both statements and is consistent with the original manga as well. On the topic of the Gohan and Gotenks battle inside Buu, the issue with using it for scaling is the claim that Gohan and Gotenks are using their full power, and thus Goku and Vegeta should scale to it. It's inconsistent even in the context of the battle itself. For example, they have base Goku fight Ultimate Gohan, which first off contradicts the previously and later established power scaling of Goku struggling against Super Buu, let alone Ultimate Gohan. Then Goku has to power up to Super Saiyan, and they still fight closely anyway, implying Gohan was not using his full power from the start to begin with, so why assume he did at any point? Also, Piccolo's Special Beam Cannon literally defeats Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, which makes no sense power scaling wise if they're the same power as the originals, like people claim they are based on a secondary source cut. So the guide's inconsistent with what happens in the fights themselves, and I don't feel using that set of interactions to seriously scale their power is viable, given the multiple massive inconsistencies in them. We also actually still have the statement about Goku not being confident about beating Super Buu when he and Vegeta escape Buu. Goku's also confident that they can't beat Buu-Tanks or Buuhan, and good Buu still is able to push Kid Buu around a little bit. This would make no sense if Kid Buu was really stronger than Buuhan, given that Fat Buu is the weakest version of Buu. Overall, the best way to keep things consistent without ignoring any blatant statements or feats is to say that in the anime, Kid Buu is the strongest pure version of Buu, while Buu-Tanks and Buuhan are in fact still stronger than Kid Buu, just like in the manga, and just like Akira Toriyama himself intended. Also worth mentioning is that Koyama, the head screenwriter for the Dragon Ball Z anime and movies, has said more than once that he feels that Buuhan is the strongest, even when shown the Kid Buu screen caps for what it's worth. So even the people directly writing the dialogue for the anime consider Buuhan to be the stronger of the two. There are some guides or secondary summaries that side either way with Buuhan or Kid Buu being the strongest, but they're secondary sources and don't hold much weight as the actual manga and anime, and neither side is blatantly favored in every source anyway. Using them doesn't override the manga and anime, and honestly gets us no further ahead due to them contradicting each other on more than one occasion. Overall, I'd say Buuhan and Buu-Tanks are above Kid Buu in both the anime and manga. Although anime has a few seemingly contradictory filler statements, we can rectify this by considering Kid Buu to be the strongest pure version of Buu, while Buu-Tanks and Buuhan, who are created from outside power-ups, are stronger still, like is stated and shown. That way, we keep all the statements consistent, and even better reflect the power scale shown in the original manga as well. So there's your answer. Buuhan is the strongest variation of Majin Buu in Dragon Ball Z, both anime and manga.